Hey, Hubbers, Cassidy, founder and creator of the Caregivers Hub, coming to you, getting myself oriented here. Happy Sunday. Today is Self-Care Sunday. My goodness, here we are. So, Self-Care Sunday. This is a topic that has been requested. This is a topic that I have heard you Hubbers scream at the top of your lungs. I need self-care. So I wanted to make sure that when I came to you with self-care tips and tricks and when we really dove into self-care, that I was going to do you guys justice, because self-care for caregivers is essential and it's difficult. I myself struggle with self-care. I don't think there is a caregiver, professional, or family out there that doesn't struggle with self-care. And I run the gamut. I hear all sorts of things. I can't do this. It's not possible for me as a caregiver with everything that I have to do to provide care to my loved ones or my loved one or just anybody to do that. And so when I thought about the things that I do for self-care and the things that rejuvenate me and make me feel good, I feel like they're great things to throw out to you guys. So I wanted to start, first of all, I want to start with a little philosophy that I have that, breath is essential to life, right? If we're not breathing, we're not living. But I'm kind of the philosophy that although we're breathing, sometimes we don't stop and take a breath. And so what I want to start with is I want all of you to just take a minute, and we're going to take a couple deep breaths, because I want you to feel how good that feels to just stop, take a minute, take a deep breath, and see how you feel. Because that's one thing that you can do for yourself, is some deep breathing. I know it sounds so crazy, stupid, simple, but I'm telling you, just taking that moment when you're frustrated and you're tired and all of the other things that you have to deal with, to just take a breath and recenter yourself. That's the one thing you can do for yourself without leaving your house, without leaving your loved one and the person you care for. So let's just take a minute and take a deep breath. We're going to take 2. Okay. So I'm going to close my eyes so I can just kind of recenter myself. Okay. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, deep breath. 1, 2, 3, deep breath. It feels good. Feels good to breathe. Don't forget to breathe. So now that we've taken a deep breath, we're going to dive into what self-care is. And I believe it's different for caregivers. I feel like we're faced with more and we handle more than most people. So one could say that we need more self-care than most people. But let's talk about what self-care is. So I looked up the definition of self-care, right? Because it's something that we all hear that we have to practice, but we don't really define what it is. And so I want to define what self-care is for you guys. So self-care is any activity that we do deliberately in order to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. So think about that. Anything that we do deliberately in order to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. So that can mean a number of things, right? And all of these things are different for every single one of us because we all have different things that we need. We all enjoy different things. We all practice different things. So I don't think that there's one thing that you could do for yourself that's of benefit to your physical, mental, or emotional health. That's not okay. right? If it works for you and it relieves your stress and anxiety, I think that you should do that for sure. And like I said, that's many different things for many of us. For myself, it's music. I love live music. I love just playing music. So at the end of my day as a hospice aide, and I know you guys have heard this a million and one times from me, but my self-care is to lock myself in the bathroom and turn up my music as loud as I can handle it and sing and scream and cry and laugh, whatever the hell it is that I need in that moment. And I'm going to tell you something. When I take that time at the end of a day and I do that and I make it a priority, it doesn't matter how angry or pissed off or sad or anything that I go into that bathroom with. I leave that bathroom an hour or two later. Sometimes I take two, and I feel better. I feel like I've had time to decompress. And so when I say that self-care is different for caregivers, it is. It's also different for professional caregivers and family caregivers. Here's the difference. Professional caregivers like myself, we have the opportunity at the end of our days to go home and to take that time and to make that more of a routine and more of a priority. And family caregivers, it's different for you because it's a little tougher for you to carve out that time when you have to care for somebody 24/7, 365. However, I'm going to say that nothing I say here today, all of the things I give you today, are only going to make a difference in your life. Hi, Jim Kelly. Oh, I'm so happy you're here. The only thing that's going to make a difference for all of this in your life is you actively choosing to do these things. And I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult. I don't always practice it myself, yo. But guess what? We're getting to a point where we don't have a choice anymore. We have to be able to put ourselves first in order to serve others. And it's a hard lesson to learn. Balance is so difficult, so difficult for us to learn. And so I think that having a game plan, a self-care game plan, and when I was thinking about this and I was thinking about a game plan for you guys, I thought, what would it be? And the only game plan that I have for you is that you need to put 5 to 15 minutes or more, depending on the time that you have, putting yourself first as a priority on a daily basis. And that may seem like an impossible task for you to do. And some days it won't be achievable, and that's okay. This is not a pressure thing. This is you being aware that self-care is important for you as a caregiver. It is important to your physical, mental, and emotional health, and that you need to learn to put yourself first. And having the awareness of those things and actively making the choice to do those things are what is going to make the difference. I mean, I've heard some of you get very, very upset that people even suggest that you take care of yourself with everything that you have to deal with in a day. And like I said, it's actively making the choice to put yourself first. Is it going to happen every day? Probably not. Is it going to happen every week? Probably not. But anytime you put yourself first and provide yourself with some self-care, is going to be more beneficial than zero, than nothing. So one thing that I was thinking of for myself that I know personally, on top of music, right? Music and kind of secluding myself off for a little bit is my self-care at the end of the day. But the other things that I personally do are, and here's why I do these things. Spirituality is different for everybody. And the way that we practice spirituality is different for everybody too. Some of you are extremely religious and faith is your self-care. And that is awesome. I encourage you to do that. If you can, incorporate your spirituality and your faith into your self-care. I just feel like it helps so much. So for me, it's the deep breathing. It's taking the time to breathe. It's meditating. I myself have come to learn that in order for me to provide end-of-life care and to be the caregiver that I've been the last 15 years, I'm an empath. I take on other people's emotions and what they're going through, and it just kind of compiles on me. And sometimes it gets to be very heavy. So if you're feeling that way and you're a professional caregiver or a family caregiver, you're probably an empath and you probably have no idea what that means, but that's okay. Google it. Google's your friend. But I have learned that for me, I need to unplug from the outside world for a little bit. I take myself off of social media. I let all of my friends and my family know that I'm taking some me time. And I focus on clearing my energy, balancing my chakras, and plugging into how I feel about what I'm doing as far as my work, how I'm benefiting other people, and how my surroundings and the people I have in my life are either benefiting me or not. So clearing out toxic energy and clearing out toxic people from your life, that is self-care. So those things are things that I practice as much as I can. Do I do it on a daily? No. But I have figured out through much trial and tribulation when I'm feeling that. So, for instance, I'm going to give you a recap of my last week because it was, when you do the soul work that I do, things come in waves, and it never fails that when I have actively transitioning people that need so much of my energy and my compassion, and my soul, that it is always in the midst of chaos. It always seems to be my caseload is crazy, and how am I going to accommodate these people, and how am I going to be able to give fully to them? So last week was one of those weeks. I had incredible soul work that I had to do. I had 3 actively transitioning patients. I had a 19 case patient caseload last week, and trying to accommodate 6 to 7 visits in a day was incredibly difficult for me. And by the end of the week, by Friday, you guys, I was mother trucking tapped. I had to unplug. So that's what I did. I felt that I was overwhelmed, that I needed to unplug, and I needed to do some meditation, and I needed to plug into myself and regenerate and rejuvenate, because there was no way I was going to be able to sit here in front of you today and talk to you about self-care. I couldn't do that if I wasn't practicing self-care. So that's what I did. I didn't check Facebook for more than 24 hours, if not more. And I just kind of did the things that I needed to do for myself. So if you're feeling overloaded, that's your trigger. That's your awareness saying, I need to take care of myself today. And so one thing that I did, I love mantras. How many of you know what a mantra is? So a mantra, and there's so many mantras for so many things. A mantra is a set of words that you can utilize to empower yourself, to lift yourself up, to affirm to your being positive things. And so I was thinking about self-care for caregivers, and I thought, what could our mantra be as a self-care as a caregiver? And so this is something that I think you guys should do. I think that you should give yourself a daily reminder about self-care. And if this is the only step that you take in order towards self-care, it's still self-care. So my mantra that I've created for us as caregivers for self-care is, I am a caregiver and I deserve self-care. I will not feel guilty for putting myself first. Write those words down. Put them on a sticky note. My mom used to put her mantras in eyeliner on her mirror, on her mirrors. There was always something beautiful and impactful and powerful that I could read on my mom's mirrors. And it's so funny that's coming to me just now, but that I haven't thought about that in a really long time, that those were present in my life when I was young. So write this down. I'm a caregiver and I deserve self-care. And I will not feel guilty about putting myself first, because you guys, the people that we serve, they don't know they're doing it, but they're sucking the life out of us sometimes. And we allow them to do it because we give and we give and we give and we don't take for ourselves. Just one thing, 5 to 15 minutes of your time in a day is not something you should feel bad about giving yourself. To breathe, to meditate, to do something that you love. It's not too much to ask. And if your loved one or the person you're caring about makes you feel guilty, you need to separate yourself from that. And you need to practice this mantra. And you need to affirm that to your being, that you are a caregiver. And what you do takes a lot out of you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And that it's okay to put yourself first. We have to do that for ourselves because our ability to care for others depends on it. So what are some things that you can do? Like I said, it's different for everybody. It's always different for everybody. But on top of meditating and deep breathing, which, by the way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a file in our group, in the Caregivers Hub support group. If you're not a member of the support group, hop over to the Caregivers Hub support group, answer the 3 questions, and we'll get you plugged in. But I'm going to create a file with the links to my personal meditations that I utilize, my chakra balancing, and the things as far as spiritual care that I provide myself, which is self-care. So you'll have access to those things too. And so here's one thing that I do feel we have to talk about. And I know I've been on both sides of these things. Eating healthy. Most of my life, you guys, I have not eaten healthy. I ate whatever I wanted. I didn't care. Because emotionally, guess what? Eating foods made me feel good. It was my coping mechanism. If I was stressed out, I ate whatever the hell I want. Fast food, just crap. So recently, I personally chose a ketogenic diet for my own personal health reasons. But I'm going to say that eating healthy and incorporating healthy foods into your diet is a part of self-care. It is important. So if you're overall feeling like crap, think about what it is that you're eating. What are you putting into your body that's healthy for you, that's of benefit to you? It's important to think about those things. So that's something to think about. Laura Bramlett Wilkerson, I love you to pieces, just sent me a message and said she doesn't think she can comment. On the side of this Google Hangout, there should be a chat box that you could type in questions for. I saw Jim Kelly do that earlier. So that is available to you. For me, it's on the right side. I don't know what side it is on for you. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be like a crazy health nut and be like, eat healthy. It's going to do all of this stuff. But in conjunction with self-care, think about that. Could we be eating healthier? Should we be eating healthier? Probably. I know I feel a hell of a lot better. Are you drinking enough water? Aaron Grimes, it is on the right side. So it is, the chat box is on the right side. So drinking enough water, eating healthy foods, minding your mind, getting that in control, which is so difficult. It's like, it's a battle. It's a war. Not all of us are always going to be mentally stable at every given time. I'm not, straight up. Also, so what are some other things? I kind of made a list. So here's one thing that I started doing that I absolutely love. Okay. So I was in Costco a couple weeks ago, and I know a lot of you do adult coloring books. And we hear it all the time that they reduce anxiety, they reduce stress. And a lot of you probably are like, yeah, but when do I get time to sit down and do that? So when I was at Costco a couple weeks ago, because like I said, it's not something I had practiced. It's not something that I made the time to do. And so when I saw this lovely little kit at Costco, has all the pens and all the coloring goodies in it, I grabbed it. And I'll tell you, when I started to actually color and take some time when I was watching a movie or just any time, I kind of became like addictive to me, and it still is, to the point where I'm coloring and my hands hurt. So think about that. Adult coloring books are great. Any crafts or hobbies that you do. Some of you people knit, you crochet, you cross stitch, you sew. Those are self-care things that you can do. Reading. I love reading. And you know what? The funny thing is, I used to read devoutly. And now I'm so busy, I don't read as much as I should. But I always have felt like reading is that one practice where it takes me to another world. It takes me away from the things that I have going on. And it's something that I can plug into at any given time and just kind of escape. So reading, music, nature, if at all possible. If you can get out into nature, that's important. And this is another thing that I wanted to talk about nature is, of course, for those of you who can get out and go on a hike, or you can go to the beach, or you can do whatever it is that you enjoy doing in nature, that's awesome. But what about those of you who can't? What do you do? So here is something that is important and possible for you. Your imagination is incredible. And the places that you can allow your mind to take you can be incredible. So if you can't get out in nature, simulate nature where you are. Maybe it's the sound of running water. Maybe it's just laying down for a while with the windows open, listening to the sound of birds on YouTube. YouTube has a ton of bird sounds and nature sounds. You can utilize your imagination to simulate nature and take yourself to another place that gives you time to rejuvenate and regenerate. Yeah, it's basically self-care is anything that you choose to do that reduces anxiety and stress, that takes care of your mental, emotional, and spiritual and physical health. So how that works for you, you're going to have to figure that out. So we talked about awareness, that when you feel yourself getting overloaded and tired, that's the knock on the door for you to say, it's time for me to just do one thing in a day, or maybe one thing this week that allows me to practice self-care, and making that a priority. And so I want to talk about personal responsibility. We've talked about it in the beginning of this hangout, but here's one thing that I really want to spell out for you guys. And it's not just in regards to self-care. This is in regards to you as a whole. Not one person one place, or one thing is responsible for your happiness. Absolutely everything that you need to cultivate your happiness is already within you. You've heard me say it. It's being aware, So if you are looking for your happiness in other people and other places and other things, that is going to be a never-ending journey for yourself. You will never find it. You will never accomplish that because it doesn't lie in those places. It lies in here and within you. And so taking personal responsibility for your health, for your self-care, for your mental health, your spiritual health, and your emotional health, all of that has to come from you. You are the only one who can make those decisions, who can make those changes and put those things first. Sure, there's a million beautiful things out there to help you and guide you, just like I am. But ultimately, that responsibility falls on yourself. So I know this is a short hangout and it's only been a half an hour, but those are all of the nuggets that I have for you about self-care. Spiritual care is self-care. If you can go to church once a month, if that's how you connect to your faith and it makes you feel good, then do that. If listening to music like me and going out on a Monday night at 10:30 to boogie woogie to your favorite band is your form of self-care, then do it. If reading a book, crocheting, coloring, there's Laura. All of those things are self-care and they're important for you. And so you have to put those things first, at least a little bit. So I hope that this has helped you. I hope that you have a better understanding of what self-care is, why you need it as a caregiver, and why it's important. Yes, taking a bath. Oh my goodness. Like I said, my tub is like my Mecca. My tub is like, I love a good bathtub. So I guess I'm going to leave you with just asking you to do me a favor and put these things first at just a little bit. Because they are important. If any of you have any questions at any time, by all means, feel free to reach out to me. You can find the Caregivers Hub fan page at facebook.com/caregivershub15. You can plug into our support group, Caregivers Hub Support Group, which is home to 5,200 members all over the world. Family caregivers, professional caregivers, medical professionals who are in the same spot you are as a caregiver. And it's an incredible place to plug into. So all of these things are available to you. Like I said, I'm going to create a file in the group on self-care and have the links and the plugins and the mantra. Remember your mantra. I'm a caregiver and I deserve self-care and I will not feel guilty about putting myself first. Write it down, affirm it to your being, write it on your mirror in lipstick, put a Post-it notes in your car, in your house, whatever it is that you need to do, and just focus a little bit on those things because they're what we need for spiritual and mental and emotional and physical well-being. All right, y'all, have a fantastic Sunday. Thank you so much for plugging in to this hangout. If there's anything you want to talk about as far as caregivers go, I'm always open to suggestions about caregiving topics. I'm always looking for people to come out and talk about their stories and everything caregiving, as long as it's of benefit to caregivers. So, all right, loves, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.